This essay example, as well as thousands of others, is available in text format on our website for free and without registration. Simply Google Ivy Panda Free Essays.
Positivist versus post-positivist approach. The world of social science has suggested many answers to complex questions. However, there are still many questions about the scientific approaches. Thus, the reign of positivist methodology ended in the 20th century, and scholars worked out several alternative paradigms. Of course, the central dispute over the merits and demerits of positivist and post-positivist methodologies continues. Scholars admit that post-positivist methodology is developed based on the positivist methodology, and thus, these approaches have many features in common. However, these two approaches have certain weak places since they can be characterized as two opposites. Thus, it is pretty impossible to exploit one of the approaches to fully understand human behavior. To my mind, it can be helpful to use an alternative approach to understanding social behavior, namely, the Constructivism paradigm, the middle road between positivist and post-positivist methodologies, which contains the most winning techniques of the two approaches. Merits and demerits of the approaches. The significant characteristics of positivist methodology. In the first place, it is necessary to depict the significant characteristics of positivist and post-positivist methodologies. Thus, one of the main postulates of the positivist approach is that the reality existing out there should be analyzed by science, and the essential objective of science is to predict and control natural phenomena. The inquirer's aim is to observe the natural processes standing behind a thick wall of one-way glass, which enables the inquirer to understand the nature of phenomena without altering them. Positivist methodology presupposes that the research results are based on the foundation of indubitable observation. So, the observation results are summarized in the form of time and context-free generalization, which can further become a law. Admittedly, positivism excludes any evaluation and exploits mainly quantitative research methods. This approach is based on research that initially formulates a hypothesis and then tests the validity of this or that theory. The major characteristics of the post-positive approach. As I mentioned above, post-positivism has many similar features. For instance, this methodology also seeks to reach objectivity. According to Guba, objectivity is still a central concern in post-positivist methodology. Post-positivism presupposes that reality is out there, but the inquirer can never wholly understand nature. For instance, post-positivist methodology criticizes the reliance on quantitative methods only, arguing that they cannot provide the observer with a comprehensive picture. Besides, this approach criticizes positivist methodology, claiming that it is impossible to maintain a neutral, distant posture during research. The inquirer inevitably influences the research results. As Phillips put it, the theory, hypothesis, or background knowledge held by an observer can influence in a major way what is observed. Moreover, the post-positivist approach is based on the understanding that generalization, acquired in positivist methodology, can distort the real results. For instance, laws based on generalized assumptions do not often work in specific environments, proving that reality is probably observed from a different angle and that it is necessary to observe the particular environment. Thus, to reach the fullest understanding or take a close look at some phenomena, the post-positivist approach is mainly based on qualitative research methods, which provide more information and enable the inquirer to observe a more complete picture. Drawbacks of the two approaches. Admittedly, the post-positivist methodology provides more reliable tools to understand the nature of social behavior. To my mind, the basic postulate of the positivist approach, which is that reality is out there, is the main merit of this approach. However, it is erroneous to admit that an observer can make assumptions and conclusions from a distant posture, since people will inevitably distort reality in accordance with their experiences, beliefs, and so on. This brings up the understanding of the flaws of both approaches, positivist and post-positivist, since the former does not take into account the possibility of facts distortion by the observer, and the latter, though, admits it does not provide the necessary way out, a definite methodology which will help to reach the complete understanding, or at least as full as it is possible. Constructivism is the possible middle road between the two approaches. Fortunately, there is a paradigm that exploits the merits of the two methodologies and provides possible methods of observation and research. This paradigm is constructivism. Thus, the construction approach is based on the understanding that there is no theory that can be fully tested because of the problem of induction. Guba suggested an example with swan observing. If we observe 1,000,000 white swans, it does not mean that there are no black swans. Thus, it is essential to take into account all possible constructions. Constructivism also admits that the observer evaluates results, so scientists do not have pure results but rather the evaluation of results presented by a scientist. As Guba put it, findings are literally the creation of the process of interaction between the two. Moreover, the construction approach suggests a really helpful research method. Thus, scientists should observe reality, constructing or rather reconstructing it, and then it is essential to study these constructions by considering what is common and what is different. Only in this case is it possible to fully understand the existing processes. From my standpoint, it is the best approach to use to observe and understand reality. Constructivism is especially helpful when considering various patterns of social behavior and human communication. It is essential to understand that it is impossible to fully observe all the peculiarities of human behavior. Sometimes, it is hardly possible to come to some commonly accepted conclusions. However, by reconstructing reality, piece by piece, scientists will reach an understanding of some basic phenomena. Constructivism is the most suitable paradigm, and it is based on the merits of the two approaches. On balance, I assume that positivism is too narrow because it is possible to observe reality from a distant posture using definite data, and it should not be exploited in contemporary research. However, post-positivism also has several shortcomings, one of which is the lack of definite efficient research methods. Thus, the best approach that can meet the requirements of modern social science is constructivism, which is based on the merits of two major approaches, positivism and post-positivism, and can lead to approaching the complete understanding of the nature of reality since it reconstructs the reality, step by step. If you want to find more works like this essay on positivism, post-positivism, and constructivism, head over to ivpanda.com. It has a collection of samples with thousands of submissions covering virtually all academic subjects.